What is going on, guys, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be doing the top 3 best carries in patch 7.37c. These heroes are absolutely busted and you guys should be playing these heroes a lot more often or learning how to actually play them so you can pick up more MMR, at least for this patch. Maybe next patch is going to be a completely different set of heroes as it usually is, but it's never going to hurt to pick up these heroes. They are usually pretty reliable and don't get heavily nerfed. Once in a while they end up getting pretty nerfed and unplayable, but most of the time they are pretty reliable. But the first hero we're going to be taking a look at is Windranger with a 49% win rate. Now, it honestly astounds me that this hero's win rate dropped below 50%, but that shouldn't discourage you from actually playing this hero. Even though she did get nerfed, this hero is still a beast, and you can either play her from the mid lane or from the safe lane. This hero can be either extremely active or you can kind of sit back and farm, but I would recommend being very active on this hero. You do benefit quite heavily from being a very fast push tempo hero because you're very fast, you have a lot of mobility, and you also have your focus fire, which is really strong single target ability. But if you use your whirlwind facet, it actually randomly attacks enemies within that certain range you have, plus 125. So that's going to extend your range, and it's also going to hit multiple targets. So if you're in a big team fight, all you got to do is win run and then click your focus fire, and you're going to be able to burst multiple targets pretty much at the same time, which is a very important tool for Windranger to have because you can pick her to be single target, you can pick the other facet and play the classic Windranger where it's pretty much all into one hero and take him out. But I like this way a lot better, and when this actually came out I wasn't aware of it because I didn't read the patch notes fully, and when I was playing up against a Windranger I was like, what is going on? I'm not being focus fired, they didn't click on me, but everybody seems to be getting hit until I actually read the ability, and I was astounded that this is just super strong. And into the ultra late game it's even better because you're going to be bursting so many heroes at the same time. It's really nice to have this ability in my opinion. So this is the facet that I would highly recommend. The build on Windranger typically fluctuates a little bit, but the standard items are the treads, the Gleipnir, and the BKB, and then you could kind of play around with items like Manta, Daedalus. You could also go for mana boots if you plan on farming a lot. I think it's a really nice idea if you guys get mana boots because this hero does suffer from a lot of mana issues. If you plan on spamming your power shot quite a bit, that can become problematic for you as you rely on that before your maelstrom to actually get a lot of farm. Other than that, you don't really farm very quickly, and focus fire is not going to help you farm whatsoever, so you definitely got to keep that in mind. But if you are using the whirlwind facet, it's actually going to help you farm ancients, which is a really good tool and another benefit to this facet, and I think you guys are missing out if you're not picking this facet. But if there is a game where you need to be absolutely single target and you're not going to benefit from this, which I don't see a whole lot of games being like that, then definitely pick up the other facet, but that's just my recommendation. As for the mid lane, you can also build her the same way. It's pretty much the same thing. You just have to be a lot more active and you pick up items like bottle. You can pick up a null talisman as well with your treads. It might delay your timing slightly, but you typically get a bracer anyway. But if you can skip it, it'll increase your timing of your maelstrom a lot better. But items like bracer are really nice on the Windranger. It makes you a little bit tankier, and that's always quite important on a hero like her because she's quite frail at times. And when there's high CC lineups, you better make sure you have a BKB going on because you rely on getting these right clicks off to be able to actually win in the fights. Highly recommend you guys pick up this hero. Super strong and very versatile. You could even play her as a support, but you should be playing her mid lane or safe lane are her best roles currently. The next hero we're going to be looking at is Medusa with a 54.57% win rate. Now this is definitely a stupid high win rate for a hero. Medusa is one of these heroes that has been changed quite a lot in the last few patches, and the hero is just absolutely insane. This hero's bonkers. It does so much damage. Not only that, it's very difficult to kill her. If there's no anti-mage or big diffusal buyers, heroes like Meepo, you're not going to be doing a whole lot against this hero. This hero just sits there and right clicks everybody down, doing a lot of magic damage thanks to the snake, and also doing a lot of physical damage with her split shot. She's just a very tanky hero. So honestly, if you do have a very aggressive offlaner, you don't really need a very tanky offlaner because you kind of have Medusa in the mid to late game. She is very difficult to kill, and in some games it can feel near impossible to actually take care of her. Now, one of the things you actually have to do, which is pretty much a must, is to ban Axe. Now, you can beat an Axe, but that would have to be mid to late game because he could just walk up to you and dunk you at level 6, which is honestly super hilarious that this can actually still happen. It's funny. I thought they would have changed this by now, but it doesn't. So at level 6, Axe is going to walk up to you and dunk you. So unless you plan on hiding until you have enough HP threshold to actually survive the culling blade, then you definitely shouldn't show your face around the map because the Axe is just going to blank call and dunk you straight away and get a bunch of armor off of you. So it's pretty much your most brutal matchup. It's more brutal than Anti-Mage, even though Anti-Mage is pretty decent. This patch, he's not great. He's not a hero that wants to be picked a whole lot. So Medusa does have the upper hand when it comes to that. And you can always get a teammate of yours that you're playing with to actually ban the Anti-Mage and ban the Axe. Those are pretty much your most crucial matchups that you need to watch out for and need to itemize properly. If you are facing up against an Axe, you need to watch your positioning a lot more, because once you hit that HP threshold and your mana is down, you will just get dunked and you will just die. You could eventually get items like Heart, which are going to make that threshold much more difficult for him to actually achieve, because they have to burn through your mana first and then burn through all that HP. Heroes like Medusa don't really want to buy items like Heart. You typically want to buy items like Scotty, you want to buy a Manta, you want to buy Daedalus. These are your typical items, Butterfly and Mana Boots. That is a quintessential item for the hero, which you could eventually get a Guardian Greaves in the ultra late game once you have no more slots. You could eventually get that item. I wouldn't recommend it, as you can get much better damage items, or even if you needed more mana or more mana regen, you could do a lot better with different items rather than that. But the Mana Boots is going to help you get a lot more snakes out in the early game. It's going to help you farm much faster, and I think it's pretty much a quintessential part of the Medusa kit. But don't sleep on this hero. It does so much freaking damage. It's absolutely insane, and it's one of the best hard carries in the game. And the later the game goes, the stronger the Medusa is going to get. So this is not a hero you are scared to go late with. The later the game goes, the better position you and your team are going to be with a hero like Medusa in your lineup, especially if there's no Axe or no Anti-Mage. You will be just fine. And the facet you guys are going to be using on Medusa is Venomous Volley. So every 5 seconds, Medusa applies a poison to her arrow, reduces movement speed, attack speed, and cast speed, which is pretty decent. It's a pretty good facet. It's pretty much her best one. It has the highest win rate, so I would definitely recommend you guys to pick that facet. Now the next carry we're going to be taking a look at is Wraith King with a 55.72% win rate. Another absolute beast of this patch. Wraith King has always been a pretty solid safe laner, and sometimes I see people dabbling in the offlane Wraith King with the Aghanim Scepter build and such. I think Wraith King is just a much better carry. I love this hero. Super tanky, super difficult to kill, and you do so much damage thanks to your Spectral Dagger, which is your best facet by far. So basically it places a curse on an enemy and it deals additional damage after a delay. All kinds of damage are always going to be really nice, but this type of damage is going to help you quite a bit. It's a really good facet for you guys to get more kills. Basically, if you want to farm, you take the skeleton facet, and if you want to be very active and you want to be killing as many heroes as possible, you're going to be taking Spectral Dagger. Basically, your build is also going to reflect that. So you either go Treads or Phase Boots. I'm a big Treads buyer on the Wraith King, but I see most players typically get Phase Boots. That's definitely up to you. Personal preference for me to get the Treads. I like that extra attack speed, especially because I really love the Armlet Deso build. That is one of the best builds you can go on the Wraith King, but if you want to be a little bit faster, then you pick up those Phase Boots and you end up going for the Radiance Blink build. You can be online, but it's just going to take a lot longer, and I just feel like you have so much right click damage when it comes to Armlet Deso. It's just a lot better in my opinion than the Radiance build. I think Radiance just takes a lot longer to be online. Unless you're facing up against illusion heroes, I typically won't build the Radiance. I will always go for the Armlet Deso. That is definitely my build, and then I will rotate to a BKB and an AC. And some games where I need to be a little bit more active and they have a lot of blink canceling stuns, or they have a bunch of slows, or they have Venomancer and heroes like that where I'm not going to get a whole lot of value out of my blink, I will go for an item like Silver Edge, and I will pick up an Abyssal in the ultra late game, as that's going to help me secure a lot more kills. And the Silver Edge with your crit, it's going to do so much damage, and Invis is always going to be nice, because the later the game goes, typically not a lot of heroes are going to be carrying dust. They're not going to have slots for it, so they can have a lot more issues of finding you, and the lower MMR you go, the harder it's going to be for them to actually find you, because they're not going to have a whole lot of detection. I think Silver Edge is a pretty solid item on the Wraith King, and you should definitely consider that. You can also pick up a Bracer in the laning phase if need be. You could also get a Null Talisman as well, but try and play the Wraith King into heroes that you can actually beat into and actually win these matchups, because heroes like Viper are very difficult for you to go up against. Heroes like Lifestealer are very good against you as well. So you need to keep these matchups in mind, because if you are facing up against an offlane Viper, you're going to have a really difficult time in that lane, and they're not going to leave you alone the rest of the game. So these matchups are pretty brutal, but if you're able to just sit there and right click people, you're one of the best heroes at doing that. You do a ton of damage, you have your stun, and you have your reincarnation. That's always going to help you. And once you have Aegis, that's going to be even more difficult to take you out. Typically you have the luxury of actually giving your Aegis to maybe somebody more important in your team, like a mid laner or an off laner that could heavily benefit from actually having a second life. Heroes heroes like Storm Spirit, Leshrac, these heroes definitely love getting the Aegis, and you as a Wraith King don't really care a whole lot about giving the Aegis away, as you already have your reincarnation as a backup tool. Let me know in the comment section below, what do you guys think is the best carry in the meta? I definitely think all three of these are very strong, viable options for you guys to pick up and add to your hero pool. You're going to be winning a lot more MMR, and I highly recommend these. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for watching.